Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
So, it's a beautiful day, and you could be out at dinner or whatever, but you came to do a video, and I'm just thrilled. So
do anything for you, Craig.
I appreciate it. All right, so let me start by asking you how long you've been at Emmanuel. I know that wasn't on the sheet.
About 3 years.
How many?
70 years.
1937.
1937.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Crystal Lake. I got a lot of memories. I'm waiting for you to ask me.
I didn't know it was that long. And how long have you been here, Ellen?
Well, this fall it'll be 50 years that I came here to teach.
Oh.
And I came right from Concordia, River Forest.
Oh, that's fantastic. I had no idea. That's great. So I guess the first question I had, which is you got to put your way back hat on to think about this one then, is,
sure.
What drew you to Emmanuel in the first place then?
Oh, my mommy and my daddy. And I got to tell you, it was a wonderful town. And that was a 2-room school and a nice playground. I was at public. I hung around with about 3 or 4 Lutheran, whatever they call them, parochial kids, and had a wonderful time. Got a lot of wonderful memories. Do you want to hear them? Or
Keep going.
Back in the 40s, 1940s, World War II-ish, and we lived in the neighborhood, and so did Leroy Pop, Teddy Handrock. When somebody died, they would ring the bell about 12 times, and then they would have a dulcet tolling bell one for each year, and then go back to the ringing at the end, which was kind of neat, which I want to mention later, because so many things. My confirmation here was wonderful memory. My mother was right behind us in a casket in January. She died when she was like 53. And I came in here in the morning, and the sun was right on the casket, the rays of the sunshine, and it was just radiant. And I wanted to come in a couple hours early and just have a little chat and goodbye, Mom. And it was one of those moments that was life remembering. And everything, our kids baptized, this church has just been our whole life, my whole life, and it was enhanced when my bride came along. Ellie?
So Ellen, let me ask you, what drew you here first?
Well, I got a call from Milt Versman, which is Lois Versman's husband, and he was chairman of the Board of Education. And he sent me a letter and asked if I would like to come and teach 2nd grade. And I was really excited. Initially.
So Bill, remember you're both in the picture. So when she's talking, if you would just look at me too, it's gonna look strange if you're looking down. So so we'll start her over, okay?
Oh.
And we can take breaks in between. No, we can take breaks in between the questions, and you can look at your notes. And you can look down while you're answering. But if you're just looking away while it's gonna look in the video like you're disinterested. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and she's.
Yes.
All right. So let me ask you again, Ellen. So we heard Bill, which is great. So Ellen, what drew you here to Emmanuel in the beginning?
Really, to come as a teacher. I was asked by Lois Versman's husband. He was chairman of the Board of Education, and he asked if I would like to teach 2nd grade. And I was very excited, because in those years, the lady teachers didn't have to have their full degree. They could have it 2 years and go out. And I was really ready to go. I couldn't wait. From 2nd grade on, I wanted to be a deaconess and teach Indians in Arizona, because my aunt did, and I thought that would be really neat. But my parents weren't wealthy enough to afford Valpo at that time. So my mom said, well, why don't you just go to Concordia and be a teacher? And I guess I did teach some Indians. But I thoroughly loved my job of teaching. It was really a thrill. So, and then that's really what drew me here.
I was a very lucky man. We were married here because Ellen's church was being remodeled in Seymour. And of course, being a teacher here, I told somebody we were both poor as church mice, and we didn't realize it. We thought we were rich. I think the most expensive, the wedding, Ellen, what, honey, your room mothers threw the reception in the gym, right? With cake and coffee and nuts.
At that time, that was the cafeteria also.
The gymnasium.
And so we invited all the children that I had taught to come to the wedding. And several mothers said, "Don't worry about a thing, we will take care of your whole reception." And so we had, in those years, you had a very simple reception. We had cake, and we had our wedding cake, but the mothers baked all the cakes. And we had mince and nuts and coffee. And that was our reception.
That was it. There wasn't a drink in the house, and we never even thought about it.
I bet it was great.
Yep, we thought so.
Well, we thought so.
Like I said.
So Bill shared a few of his memories. Do you have a memory that you want to share, Ellen?
Well, I think of course I have a couple memories. Mostly our wedding, of course, and being able to meet Bill, because at that time I didn't think he would ever look at me. And I was really excited when he asked me one evening to go out after a youth group. And of course, my teaching here. I had great support from the parents, and I love teaching the children. And I just took off time to have our 2 children. And then when I came back after our children, then I taught the last 30 years in kindergarten. And I loved it all the time. I would still be teaching if I had the energy.
Ellen.
This is a wonderful place to be.
Well, that's
It
fantastic.
really is. And the first date with Ellen was, we were just never apart after that. Among other of her attributes, she's really comfortable to be with, and I just came by every day. And we never missed a day since our first date, I don't think.
He would pick me up and take me to school each morning.
You are a good man, huh?
Yes.
Make sure we're doing okay here. Hold on. I think we're doing fine. Okay.
Speaking of that, we had our 25th wedding anniversary. We renewed our vows, and it was right here. And I had Davy Holtz up in the balcony and had him play a song that I heard just, I don't know, whenever it came out 20 years ago, which is "Wind Beneath My Wings," which is really what Ellie is. She's the wind beneath my wings and my hero, all in one. And so it was kind of a surprise for her.
So we talked about memories. I also asked what do you like best about Emmanuel, but do you kind of combine those into both, or do you want to answer the best question too, or?
Well, I would like to add to that.
Okay.
I think by having so many Christian friends all around me, it helps my faith to grow. And I really like the support I get. When I had cancer a number of years ago, they wanted me to go to a support group, and I said, I don't need it because I have my Christian friends. And to me, this is what supports me, is how Christian everyone is around. No matter what happens, there's somebody there for you.
And
Go
ahead.
One more memory. My lifelong buddy, Teddy Handrock, passed away, and I felt moved to eulogize him along with an old Army buddy that he did. And if I was ever in trouble in my life, I was always standing next to Ted. Very few times I was ever in danger, but when I was, I'd be standing next to Ted doing something that I had no idea that I would even be doing such a thing. But so after giving him a little roasting and a little eulogizing, I said, these bells up here have not been tolled for 50 years, and we never passed up a bet, did we, Ted? And I had Davy Holtz, who else, up in the balcony, and I said the name of the Father, bong, Son, bong, Holy Spirit, and that was a very moving situation. I'll tell you more if you'd like.
Keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hold on. Let me check everything here.
Sure.
And I'm going to close these doors in case, so that nobody comes in and interrupts us here. You guys are doing great. Bill, if you can move just a tad closer down. Kind of move away.
And it was a wonderful neighborhood, and we had wonderful neighbors. Like the Geeskies.
I can go down the street with them.
Oh, you did? Oh, my
He was my Sunday school teacher when I was about...
4th grade. That's the only time I taught Sunday
I'll finish
school.
Bill and Ellen here, and then I'll let you take over, okay?
That's quite all right.
All righty.
Yeah, we,
You
the
got
first,
a haircut.
are you
No,
ready?
you're about almost
I'll
ready.
tell you about it. Yep.
So
Are you
we were
filming?
talking about family. Yeah, we've been. So I was talking
the
about
first
family.
12 years of our marriage, I lived in Rosedale, right next to that young lady, and
3
we
houses
walked.
down?
Yes, and we walked to church and had one car, and Ellen walked to school up hills both ways, rain, snow, with the kids. And when we moved from that house, we had to get 2 cars. Emmanuel's meant a real lot to me, a real lot, and it's been my whole life. And I wasn't blessed with a job that was conducive to going to church. I had to work shift work, so I served on boards and did what I could. And then retirement came along, and boy, that's the most. Anybody can bail out of work. I bailed at 57, and my wife supported me for 5 years. Well, I've been really, really, really blessed, but with this church since. That's when I could get into Bible classes, and that's when I could have the time to tell everybody else in the town what I thought of my church. And I was so blessed with a gang of guys like Craig Ibbotson and Koenigs, and they're all my kids' age, and they've accepted us as social friends. And a lot of these, Brenda Koenig, I think we went to her house twice, and Shelley Davidson to kind of beg them to join us in our church. And the blessing I've gotten from that is just overwhelming. It gave me a second childhood, or whatever you do when you're 40. And I just feel very blessed. And our Lord Jesus Christ is just, let's Pastor Tiemann is all things for me. He's a friend, he's a leader, he's an inspiration. He's 2 days ago, he said, "Hey, Bill, look at this person that signed a card. We got a hot one." I said, "He's talking like me, and his enthusiasm just gives me goosebumps." It's great. Go ahead.
Hey, let me. So, I mean, the memories are incredible. I didn't really, knowing how long you've been here now, even though, and all the time I knew you, I wouldn't even know it was quite that long. So those were incredible. I guess the next question I had was maybe a little bit tougher, which was, so in those years, have there been any times where you've been either challenged or faced some adversity where your faith and Emmanuel as a congregation has really kind of, helped you through, or anything in that lane that you want to share with us?
Well, to go back to what I initially said, when I had cancer or whenever I am sick, and not just that, but supporting me as a teacher in this school, the faculty was always behind me, and the principal too. And in fact, 3 years before I knew I was going to retire, I remember telling my friend Gerda, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't want to retire. I love this. And I think the thing I loved the most was telling stories about Jesus to the children and to see their reaction on their faces. And some of the questions they had, the innocent questions they had, it was just, to me, that was one of the overwhelming things in my teaching. And we need Christian people in a public school, but I really love being where I could speak freely about Christ. And that was a great joy for me. And I had a husband who supported me, especially when I went full-time my last few years. And Gerda had told me, she said, "You will know, the Lord will let you know when it's time to retire." And he did, because my physical body was just not able to keep up. I could see that with the younger teachers. I tried, but I was exhausted when I got home. And that's why I knew too that God had Bill retire first, because he took over a lot of my duties in our family. So
Those young kids will keep you going, that's for sure.
it does, and keeps you young at heart too.
Yes, it does.
So let me turn the questions to what's to come. So you guys have this long history with men. You've seen many pastors come and go, and you've seen many changes here. I mean, I feel like a newbie. I've been here 15 years. I feel like a new guy, right? But now we're kind of on the brink of like something new. And I guess, what do you guys think that God has in store for this church? What does God have in mind for Emmanuel as we go forward?
Well, I think because he has given us two wonderful pastors and good leaders, and also we have an awful lot of new, young families, and that's very encouraging to see young, new families, because that they can send their children to our school, and I will always support our school.
Bill, what do you think? What do you think the future has in hold for Emmanuel?
Leap of faith. I hope the Lord is with us. I think He is. I don't know what to tell you. Whatever it is, the church as we're sitting here now, you asked if there was any disappointment. It's not that disappointing, but we downsized like about whenever that last remodeling was, and we lost about a third of our seating capacity, and which is quite a bit, and that really disturbed me. And I was a majority of one, and to say anything, I'd be severely criticized. You know, we've given this a lot of thought, or not. You know, you're not thinking in the right direction. Well, right now we could use those seats.
All right, well, great. Well, great, you guys. That was awesome.
When we were in the 50s, we had some trials and tribulations. We were at a time without a pastor. Our pastor had to leave rather abruptly, and we had a vicar, Gene Bunkowski, and we became real tight with him. And he was a vicar. He ended up being 5th vice president of Synod. Had a tremendous ministry as a missionary in Africa. And we had like 800 people a Sunday. And that area right there wasn't built up, and they would put folding chairs there for the overflow. And it was on fire back in the 50s. But I think, you know, that it wasn't this pastor was good and this pastor was bad. It was kind of the community attitude that they were a little more following Christ when World War II, Korean War, and they were a little more looking for their maker and a little help. But whatever it was very, very inspiring, and we're getting back to that point.
When I first came to Crystal Lake, the congregation on a Sunday morning would be between, lots of times, 700 and 800 parishioners. It was larger, but we're growing now, and I really think that we're on the growth again. Because there's so many dedicated Christian people in our congregation, not only the pastors, but many others.
We had 3 services every Sunday, 8, 9:30, and 11. And I went down fighting that why give up the 9:30 church when you've got a church full of people? But it seemed to be I think they were right in doing so.
Well, that's incredible. Now I know how Gene Bonkowski fits into the whole. I know him because I've met him through you. We've had him at his house, but I never quite understood how he fit into the history. So. Well, this was great, guys. You were fantastic. So thank you.
I don't know if we said too much or.
Oh well, you know what? Unfortunately, this is going to all come down to probably about 30 to 45 seconds.
Oh, good.
So. I've got it ready yet. I got to get that going too.
Okay.